Why don't we begin with a moment of silence and reflection. Unfortunately, this unspeakable national tragedy that we all endured last week had an all too human and personal dimension as well. I think we all shared probably similar emotions as the events that day unfolded. First there was a great deal of uncertainty. There was disbelief, horror, and clearly fear. And maybe for some of us, a little bit of room for anger. But I think all of that was filtered through the lenses of television cameras, and it was on that small screen, which allowed it to remain a little bit surreal. I know at least I was able to some extent, just keep it at arm's length. Of course, that was until we heard the news about Anne and Joe and those 3 school teachers and 3 young students, that it became very personal and very real for all of us here. Today we all share a deep grief, their National Geographic family and their family who are with us today. But we're also here, of course, to celebrate 2 remarkable and absolutely full lives. Joe Ferguson and Ann Judge were doing what they loved, and their work and their dedication to that work embodied the very best of this organization. Now, their tasks were as close to the essence of the mission of National Geographic as any can be. Ann's the person who placed all of our people in the field, and you'll hear and you all know how wonderfully she did that. And Joe, for most of his adult life, was building our geography education program, particularly doing with urban schools and urban kids. Now, they had much in common, which is unusual for a northerner and a southerner. They had this contagious sort of kinetic energy, enthusiasm, a complete respect for upper management at National Geographic. And boy, were they great fun. They also shared a commitment to education, which of course was natural for Joe. That was what he was here for, but it was something that Anne picked up and truly loved. They became, in fact, such good friends that they would spend Thanksgiving dinners together, and sometimes their entire families would spend Thanksgiving dinners together. Both of them are from wonderful homes, which is why they were the way they were. And we have their family with us today. Jeff, Anne's husband and soulmate since high school. Anne's mom, Ruth, sister Ellen, brother Michael. And of course we have Joe's mom, Barbara, his brother Randy, and Randy's wife Jennifer with us today. You know, we all have our own visions of these folks, but when I think of Anne, I think of a New York bundle of energy. And that irrepressible, can-do spirit. I mean, Anne could do anything. I mean, she was our queen of logistics. And we all have our own stories about what Anne would do when we were out in the field. But I do have one I'd like to share with you. Some number of years ago, was on my way to Tel Aviv for the launch of the Hebrew issue of National Geographic. And of course, I missed my connection in Kennedy Airport. I looked at the chaos and I knew there was no chance my bag would arrive. Flew into Tel Aviv and there was a baggage handler's strike there. Managed to spill my glass of red wine on the flight. I thought I was okay because I thought it spilled on the blanket that I had. But I arrived at the airport and they said, listen, we're so late, we've got to go do all these things. So I went and did interviews and I did a TV thing and I was on my way to dinner that night and I happened to glance in a mirror and I saw this long red streak on the back of my khaki pants. and I started worrying about my luggage. Now, I had not done this before, but I got on the phone and called that number and got Ann. And Ann said, I'll take care of it. I'll make it happen. I'll get you your luggage. And she called me back, and she said, it's on its way, and here it is, and I know exactly where it is. And I felt like I was in her hands. Everything would be okay. In fact, I think she called me when the luggage left the elevator and was on its way down the hall to my room at the hotel. And then, I've shared with some of you already this, I'm real fortunate. The last I heard from Ann was just before this tragic event, and she actually called me in the office, and I was not there. And she left me a voicemail that I did not get to until midday Monday. And the voicemail was just this laughing young lady telling me she was on the Monkey River in Belize, rafting. It was hard to understand her. She was laughing so much. Telling me what a great time she was having. Now, I know she wasn't making that phone call just to tell me where she was. She was making that phone call to tell me she was on the Monkey River and I was sitting in my office. But it is an enduring, very nice memory that I will have. And I just want to say a word to those smokers among us. When the laws chased you all out of the building, I think it gave you an opportunity to meet this extraordinary person. Quite a bit, in fact. And if there's ever an excuse to think about stopping smoking, I think now you have one. Okay, let's talk about Joe. When I think about Joe, I think about warmth, kindness, a bit of mischief, sometimes quite a bit of mischief, that great, great smile, and a guy who really liked to have fun. Bear with me, please. Joe's impact to this organization was a little different than Ann's because it was outside the walls of National Geographic. He was touching the teachers, and thousands of them, and the school children around the country. And I heard from those teachers, I can't tell you when we have these summer institutes how many letters I would receive telling me how wonderful Joe was. In fact, it began to look like an orchestrated campaign. At one point, I thought I'd just check Joe's handwriting against some of these letters. Now, given all that, I think it's fitting. Some of you may have had a chance to look at our website and see some of the wonderful things that have been posted about these two great people, and I thought it was fitting to actually read something that came from one of our teachers about Joe, because I think it captures his essence. Quote, "A short list of things I'm going to do in his memory. 1, I will answer even the most inane question with grace and diplomacy. 2, I will wear something wonderful to work and be nonchalant about it. 3, I will love my dog with all my heart. 4, I will wither someone with simply a glance. Of course, only when they deserve it." I was the victim of that glance a couple of times. That's true. 5, I will encourage someone to do more than they thought they could do. 6, I will call my local radio stations and request the electric slide. And 7, I will dance. That's for Mary Carol Dean in California. And one last thing I want to mention about Joe is he had a very special relationship with his mother. The Monday evening beforehand, he worked very late. He worked late because he really wanted to make this trip work for those kids and those teachers. But he was also doing something else. He was booking a trip to London for him and for his mom. And he called her that night, and he did this quite often. Their relationship was so tight, and said, "Hey, Mom, I need you to call me tomorrow to wake me up because otherwise I may not wake up." These guys were incredibly close, and I think that the important thing is he shared that importance of family with all of the kids that he touched. So many teachers have told me that he really believed in the importance of family. Okay, what now for us? Well, I think the spirit of this organization should soar. I don't know for sure, but I think Anne and Joe would want it to be that way. If anything, the mission of National Geographic is more vital today than it's ever been. We're providing a window, a view on the world to people to try to really understand this place. One thing we certainly will do, and I'm committed to, is redoubling our efforts in geography education. And I really want to do this in these urban areas. I had a chance to learn a lot about this particular project, and I can assure you that we will make sure so many kids get an opportunity to do some really interesting things they may otherwise not have been able to. And I hope the strong sense of family that I sense here at National Geographic endures. It's a shame that these events have made this happen. But I think we all have a chance to sort of reconsider our priorities as it relates to our personal life, and I think it relates to what we do day in and day out. And I hope at the end of the day that makes us a much stronger organization. Just two additional things. These camellia bushes that you see up front will be planted at 17th Street right outside our headquarters and dedicated as a permanent memorial to Joe and to Anne. And I have two National Geographic flags that I will give to Jeff and to Barbara right now. Joe and Anne, I want to thank you for everything you've done, and God bless both of you.